You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Calling All Creatures. I am your host, Lori, and tonight I have a really cool update podcast, actually. I have James LaMonte, who was the founder of the K9 PTSD Center, and if you guys listened, I had him on a while back, and we were talking about his center and what they do, but we're having him on to do an update because he's got some news about what's been going on with the center and some expansions and stuff they've done. So, James, I'm really glad that you could join me again and talk about the center and what you guys have been doing.
Well, thank you so much for having us back. It's really exciting to be able to talk to you and share more information with your listeners.
Yeah, no kidding. I know you guys have done a lot since the last time you were on, but let's kind of start back at the beginning again a little bit, like for some of the listeners who maybe didn't listen to that podcast. How did you get started working with dogs in general?
Well, I mean, I was born into the whole world of working dogs. When I was in diapers, we had working dogs in the house and in our home, and it just kind of was something that just, has been part of my life my whole life, German Shepherds and working dogs. So, of course, that was always my dream as a child to kind of work with dogs full time, but life gets in the way of living, what we think we're going to be when we get older, and all of a sudden life decides it's going to throw us a curveball and it pushes us in different directions. So it took me a long time to get back to where I wanted to be. So it's just baked in my DNA and my what I wanted to do. So, but yes,
I can totally understand that. I mean, I'm doing my dog training now, so I'm happy. I work, training service dogs and stuff like that, and then my regular training. So I'm kind of like you. It took me a long time to maybe get to doing this kind of stuff, but it's something I enjoy doing. So
right, and let it be a message to your listeners is that you're never too old to start your dream, right? So just keep at it and keep striving for it.
Yep, exactly. So, why don't you go ahead and remind us of what K9 PTSD is and what the K9 PTSD Center does?
Well, great question. Well, since we talked, I mean, I've been working on this research for 6 years to kind of identify it, give it an image of what people can see what it is, and because up until we did our research, it was identified, but nobody had actually could classify it. There was no diagnosis tools for it. And since then, we've developed assessments and a whole bunch of information to be able to not only diagnose it, but to treat it. But K9 PTSD in general, just to simplify it, is really about, it's the highest form of stress. I mean, it's when the brain of whether it's a human or, in this particular case, a dog, it gets stuck in a constant loop of stress, panic, and anxiety, and it can't get out of it. Unlike humans, where we can self-medicate in some cases with alcohol or barbiturates or any other type of depressant to suppress that nervous system, or even prescription medications, an anxiolytic like Xanax or Ativan or lorazepam, whatever is used to suppress the nervous system, dogs can't do that, and so they lash out a lot in the way of irritability and aggression, and it's actually something completely different happening. So the research has been able to identify it, and in 2019, the award-winning movie, since we spoke last, Healing Dakota, is now available on Amazon Prime. It is $4.99, but Amazon and Jeff Bezos splits half of it with us, so half of it's coming back to the doggies here under our care. But they can watch Healing Dakota on Amazon Prime, and it'll follow the whole story as far as being able to identify it in the methods that we use to treat it. So the K9 PTSD Center is dedicated to that, treating and researching to improve the quality of lives of dogs suffering from extreme anxiety and certainly post-traumatic stress 1 and 2. And people always ask, well, what's the difference between 1 and 2? And it's really simple. When K9 comes in with PTSD 1, because we've already diagnosed them, we've already done the assessment and basically gave a general probability. Until they come here, we can't give a full assessment and probability until we analyze them more. But PTSD 1 is simply, we can identify the dog was shot, stabbed, hit by a car accident, fell off a cliff. There was some type of cataclysmic blown up, some cataclysmic event. PTSD 2 is when the canine's exposed to multiple traumatic events over a period of time. To put that in human terms, often you see that with domestic violent relationships. And I know it exists in both male and female, but in the female side of it is that being exposed to abusive relationship for a long period of time can develop a post-traumatic stress disorder in those circumstances. So that's what we call PTSD 2. Yep.
Cool. So, since you went ahead and you had mentioned your documentary Healing Dakota, let's just loop back and talk about that real quick and tell the listeners out there a little bit more about the documentary. And you said it's on Amazon Prime now, which is awesome. But let's talk a little bit about the documentary and what it is and why you made it.
Great, yeah, Amazon Prime, Healing Dakota. It's like I said, it's $4.99. You can buy it for $10, and 50% is split with us and Jeff Bezos, which is great. Typically, you don't get that kind of split in a movie that's on Amazon Prime. Usually, it's like 30 cents. So we did pretty well with that. But the movie is really going to start out with the idea of we got this K9 that was instrumental in tracking down the terrorist bombing over here in Boston in 2013, and he got kind of dumped on us. And he was young. He was just turning 8 years old, and traditionally you don't see him retire a K9 at that age. I'm like, So I quickly realized, having worked with dogs my whole life, that there was something different about this particular K9. Like, there's something wrong here. I've never seen this behavior profile before, ever. And so Dr. Morgan and I were actually working on different research projects here. All our research is observational research, just we watch behavior. And then document it and journal it. But I asked her, I said, it was really a question. I said, can dogs get post-traumatic stress? She's like, I don't know. And she's a professor of psychology for 33 years, and she wasn't sure. And so we kind of Googled everything and looked it up, and there was nothing available on it whatsoever. I said, I think this is a post-traumatic stress in a dog. And it starts the journey of the movie of trying to find the answers to that question. You know? Somebody who didn't have any experience with it at all, first of all, didn't know that it was a thing, to going out and researching it and figuring out how to heal this dog. And that's what the movie's about. It's a very warm, there's a lot of emotional parts in the movie, but it's a good movie. It's a great movie, actually. It really is. I'm very proud of that movie.
I thought it was pretty good. I bought it and watched it, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I was sharing it on my Facebook page for people to see it and telling them to buy it, because, yeah.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for doing that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, most definitely. I thought it was really good. It was well done. And it talked about the journey of not just Dakota, but you along with him. So
yeah, that's true. I got to tell you, just in a funny context, I went kicking and screaming. That movie was never intended for me to be part of it. The movie was originally going to be me at the end coming on and introducing the PTSD Center. And that was about as much as the audience was going to see of my face. But they were like, the story editor for the movie is like, nah, I think we're missing something here. We need to tell your story. I'm like, no, we really don't need to tell my story. Let's just focus on Dakota and the dogs. I'm like, no, we really need to. So they put it out to a test audience, the first film, and the whole test audiences came back and said the same thing. Who's this guy, and why is he doing this? And then, of course, the director of photography, Zach Levinson, who's just an amazing human being, said, do it for Dakota. I'm like, join you! So that's why the audience has to suffer through my part of the film. But Dakota's amazing.
I thought it was awesome. It was good because you guys' journeys actually kind of paralleled so well together.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And it really. I don't want to ruin it and do any spoilers for your audience, but it really bookends because if you watch it again, right, and here I am dealing with this anxiety issue going on, and at the beginning of the movie, I won't leave the yard, and the movie concludes with me and Dakota on a mountain. Right, so a lot of people don't pick that part up, but you can see the journey of us together. So it was just amazing. It's such an amazing K9, such an amazing K9.
Yeah, well, and I'm telling you, I don't want to put out too much either, but you had me on edge at one part. I was like, oh no. Yeah. For your viewers, for your listeners. It's certainly an emotional journey. There's no doubt about it, and I think it can be just. I think it's a lot because you can relate to it as a human. I mean, you think you're making progress, and sometimes you're failing, but a lot of times your failures are your successes, and in this, you don't realize it until later, right? That movie was shot over 3 years, right?
So there was a lot of failures within that 3 years, and there was a lot of success stories. And you're watching an hour and 22 minute movie, but it was 3 years in filming it. So
yeah. Well, it was pretty good, and like I said, I enjoyed watching it, and my friend watched it too. She, the one that talked with you about her dog, she watched it too, so she liked it. So anyway, it was good. So
thank you. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah.
If you guys get a chance to watch it, do strongly recommend it. Healing Dakota. You can find it on Amazon Prime, and don't forget, if you buy it and stuff, part of the money goes to James in the center. So.
Right, that's correct. Yeah, 50% of whatever so purchase or renting is 50%. We get half of it, which is really, like I said, it's very generous for the Amazon platform.
Yep.
Typically, they don't do it that much. Normally, it's like 40 cents you get, but they're very generous to us, so we're really excited about that. So,
right.
So the doggies get to be taken care of and rescue more of them across this great nation of ours.
Yep, exactly, and that's really cool. So let's talk back to the center now. So you guys just, like we said, did your expansion, and why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit more about the expansion and what all you guys added in, and also, are you open to the public now because you weren't before?
Great question. Wow. Yeah, great question. We were never open to the public, then we opened to the public, and then we closed to the public. So, right. So we were looking at it, and we did expand. We can take up to, at this point, comfortably 20 canines, and through the buildings and the expansion of that. And last year, we decided we'd look for an opportunity to kind of maybe generating a little bit more income coming into the center, because we're completely donation-based at this point, and to offer our service beyond what we do for the military and the police departments, law enforcement across the country and internationally. But what wound up happening when we opened to the public it turned out to be a different approach to it, that we didn't find that was very, let's see, what's the good word for it, effective. So what we decided to do was kind of pull back from dealing much with the public, refocus our energies on the canines that we had here, expand what we had here to take on more of the military and police canines that we know that are suffering, and kind of harness our efforts on that, because we're still a small nonprofit. We don't have a very large group of people that are here, and it just became overwhelming trying to accommodate both our workload here, our remote that we do with military and police canines, and to be able to accommodate the general public. It was just too much. So we pulled back for 2020 into 2024, into 2025, and as we mature a little bit more and grow into our new skin, for the lack of a better analogy, to be able to then open ourselves back up to the public to be able to help more people in the future. More doggies in the future, yes.
Awesome. Sounds great. I know you keep getting that feedback on my phone. Some of the things I saw in there were pretty cool. You guys are offering some different services and stuff like that. So what services are you guys going to offer, and can you tell us just a little bit more about them?
Yeah, I mean, when we were offering services to the public, it was a little bit more in the way of dealing specifically with behaviors that were fear-based. Because that's really our wheelhouse. That's what we deal with specifically here, is fear. So fear, reactivity towards other dogs, fear towards other people. So fear-based type of behaviors were ideally what we were focusing on, and how to minimize the fear and to get a dog that is experiencing that some relief in the way of behavior modification. And that's what we're looking to expand into for non-civilians, I should say, outside of military and police, canine, dogs in general.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We also opened a new store on K9 PTSD.org. That's K9, the letter K9 PTSD.org. Been years people have been asking us for be able to buy shirts in support of what we do, and hats and all that stuff. So we launched a pretty good sized store there, and all the profits go directly to the doggies. So, yep.
Well, that's good to hear. I'll have to go check out the store.
Yes, we would definitely love for you to do that and share with all of your listeners and have them go out there. It's the time of the year. What a better Christmas gift to give than a T-shirt from the K9 PTSD Center.
Right, exactly. That's a good idea. So I saw too, if you guys do some other rehabbing and stuff, because you guys have a pool and everything there for the dogs to swim in and do some other stuff in, correct?
Right. We have two pools. We have an in-ground pool and we have an above-ground pool. The above-ground pool is an aquatherapy pool, and it's also a dock diving pool. And the in-ground pool is strictly an in-ground pool. People can go to our website and they can actually take a video tour of the center. It's not all of the center. It's about maybe 85% of what's here. But we had a canine come in on Thanksgiving Day, just a few weeks ago. He came in from the military. And he had spinal surgery in August. So the in-ground pool, and a lot of them have injuries. And so the in-ground pool we use for therapy for them. It's for the ones that are more senior and that have more of a physical limitation. This way they can walk in the pool and walk out. Whereas the dock diving aquatherapy pool, there's a ramp going in there, but they tend to have a little bit more. So we keep it for the younger dogs or the ones that are not severely injured, so they can just have fun and jump in the pool. And so there's a lot of activities for them to do here.
Yeah, I know I saw that. I thought that was really cool because, I mean, like, before you just had, like 6 kennels, right? For the dogs, you didn't have very many at all, and now you said you went up to, 20, is it 29 you said?
We're up to 20 now, yeah, exactly. Well, we expanded to 20. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's that's pretty good.
Yeah, and they're not just kennels, they're suites. We call them suites, and people visit the website, K9PTSD.org. They can actually take that tour, and they'll see they have their own living room, they have their own TV, they have their own kitchen. Everybody who's visited the center is, I don't know of one person who hasn't said, "Can I move in here? This is nicer than my house."
I know, that's what I was just going to say.
I was going to say, when you find 390 IEDs and more, then you can move in.
Right, exactly. You got to earn that right.
You earn it. Mm-hmm.
So then it sounds like I was just going to ask if you're still taking in like the military and police canines and giving them like permanent placement and stuff like that if they can't go back out.
Yeah, yes, we do. We've taken the police canines. So within the last month, we've taken in a canine from law enforcement, or I should say 5 or 6 weeks, and a canine from the military. And all of these canines that come here, keep in mind, that are diagnosed with PTSD, it's either us or it's a needle. You know, it's it. There's no third option for them.
Right.
It's either they're here or they put them down. So every time we're able to take and welcome one here, that's another life saved. And they're heroes. I mean, they served this country. They served the police department. They served our communities. And they got, unfortunately developed this disorder. And so your listeners, and when they donate, these donations go directly to these dogs. Nobody takes a salary here. It goes to the medical, it goes to their food, it goes to the electricity to keep the buildings warm and cool. All the staff's volunteer. There's nobody's getting paid. So every time they donate, it's one more dollar that we can use towards saving more of them.
Right. Now, if I remember right before, it was kind of just you that really handled the dogs and stuff like that because of their conditions for a lot of them. But do you have another person or two on your staff that can help you out with them now?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So in addition to expanding the building, we've expanded our personnel. And again, they're all volunteers as well, but they come and they're just as dedicated and committed to healing these amazing heroes as I am. And so, yes, that's a good thing that we have good help to do this.
So, you're planning to open back up to the public, correct? Right now, you're not really open to the public again?
Right. Not at this moment. We're not open to the public. We're looking to maybe sometime mid-year 2025 to open back up to the public for them to be able to utilize some of the services that we have. Okay. But right now, we've had an influx of heroes that have come in. Right. And when you're dealing with a canine that's been diagnosed with a CPTSD 1 or 2, it's really dealing with, for every one you deal with, it's like dealing with 20 different dogs with different personalities. It's extremely demanding. There's a lot of work that goes into them. So we really don't, when you start getting too big, then you take away the services that are needed for an individual dog, and we just don't want to do that. So our resources are great right now for caring for the ones we have, but opening it up to the public at this time, we would have to then give more attention to that, or divide our attention, I should say, and then that's something we just can't, and we don't want to do at this time. But as we mature more for 2025, get more people to come on to help, then absolutely we can open to the public. Okay, good.
One of the things I was going to ask you, I didn't realize that you were close to the public again, was so when you guys do start offering service again, what would be the process if someone thinks that their dog may have K9 PTSD and they contact you. So what would they, kind of have to go through to, I guess, use your services to try to help with their dog?
It's a great question. Everything starts with an assessment. Whether it's military or police, it doesn't matter. We need an x-ray of what's going on. And our x-ray machine is the assessments that we have. Every dog, whether it's in somebody's backyard or it's on the front lines of a war, front lines of a war zone, or in a police cruiser, it doesn't matter. Every single one of them needs an assessment. So what we do is we push them through an assessment. We don't push them through. We have them complete an assessment. And they can do that through Zoom with us. They do it live, Zoom session, or they can do the assessment themselves. Now, through us is more expensive. It's $495 to do an assessment via virtually with us, whereas they can do the assessment themselves and submit the data to us, which those programs are still open. So it's not completely shut down from the public. The public can still go there, complete an assessment or ask us for an assessment, and to be able to give them at least some starting point where to go, so they can get the answers to their questions. And to be able to, the assessments just don't diagnose CPTSD 1 or 2. They diagnose general anxiety disorders as well, or it eliminates those things. I'll tell you a quick story. As experienced as I am, having done the research and developed CPTSD2 and put on all of the conditions to identify and to diagnose it, and people call me an expert, and like, oh, you're an expert in this. Well, okay, but I'll give you a quick scenario. 5 or 6 weeks ago, I did an assessment for the K9 that came in from the United States military. I was talking with the handler as far as this military K9, and there was nothing in the conversation that I had with her that in any way whatsoever triggered anything to make me believe this K9 had post-traumatic stress disorder. Not a single thing. Ran the assessments. The assessments are non-biased. Ran the assessments. Scored the highest ever on an assessment. Even higher than Dakota, and he's our standard.
Wow.
The Dakota standard. So we actually wound up starting crying at the end of the assessment. We're upset. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked, and she was shocked. And then the next day, I ran an assessment for a K9 in one of the New England states. I was absolutely convinced 100%, well, I shouldn't say 100%, but everything in the conversation was leading me towards a post-traumatic stress in this K9. Every word he said, everything he said in the interview, because these interviews can take hours. This one happened to take 2 hours. I was convinced. I was almost convinced this dog had CPTSD 1 or 2. I ran the assessment. He scored the lowest we've ever scored on an assessment.
Wow.
Within 2 days, I had the highest and the lowest. So this is the reason why we rely so much on these assessments, because it removes the bias from it. So when somebody completes an assessment online, if they do it themselves to save some money, or if they want to do it with us, we're able to give them information that they otherwise didn't have.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome that you guys are still offering that. So if people do need to have that done, they can do it. So you mentioned the research and stuff you've done. So let's talk about that real quick. What is the research that you've done that kind of qualifies you to diagnose the condition and to help, prepare like treatment plans or help treat this?
That's a great question. For years, I've taken in dogs with probable CPTSD, and I looked at patterns and took accurate notes, journaled everything to kind of generalize what it is. But for years, I was so conflicted. I knew what post-traumatic stress was. I mean, we all have a general idea of what it is. Kind of. It's much more complicated than just in passing, people say, like, oh, the holidays are coming, I'm going to get PTSD from the holidays with my family.
Right.
And that's probably true for a lot of us, right? But the reality is it's not post-traumatic stress. It really, really is a specific thing. So I was doing this research, looking at studying all the behavior profiles of all these dogs coming in, and for years I couldn't figure it out. I could identify PTSD 1, but then I'd have a canine that came in that was exhibiting the same behavior, exact same behavior as our control, which we knew had post-traumatic stress 1. But they weren't shot, they weren't stabbed, they weren't hit by a car, they weren't in a car accident. None of those things were true. So I was racking my brain for years, keeping the research going, hoping for an answer, to the point where I was like, maybe post-traumatic stress is like the autism spectrum. Maybe it's a spectrum disorder. And I couldn't connect the dots. But I kept at it, kept researching it, kept journaling it, logging behavior profiles. What do they have in common? What don't they have in common? What therapeutic measures work? Which ones don't work? All of these different things. And then finally, I had that light bulb moment summer of 2023, where it's like, it's two of them. It's not a spectrum disorder. It's not one, it's two. And then from there, I was able to then put the final pieces of the puzzle to see the picture clearly of how to identify it, how to diagnose it, and as important, how to treat it. And that all came from here. It's all original research. Ironically, though, for your listeners out there, that what's interesting is right now, if somebody is experiencing trauma, they go to their doctor, they can get diagnosed with PTSD, right? Mm-hmm. And the DMS-5, or the Diagnostic Statistical Manual in Psychology, is the 5th version, that they're going to use to identify post-traumatic stress, and you have to qualify, just as off the top of my head, 9 out of the 15 possible behavioral profiles for diagnosing you with PTSD.
Wow.
That's great. That's great when we can identify an event that caused it.
Right.
But CPTSD 2, which is the research I've done, will ultimately be complex PTSD in humans, which is not diagnosable as far as it being on the DMS-5 or the Diagnostic Statistical Manual. You can't go to there and then have it diagnosed, which means insurance companies don't have to pay for it because it's not an official disorder. So the research that I'm doing will then give this research out there for the human factor. So these canine heroes are actually supporting humans. So later on in years to come, when they update the DMS-5, take the research that I've done, then humans can get diagnosed with it and treated for it, and their insurance companies to pay for it. So that's what I've been working on.
That sounds like quite a bit of work.
It's a lot of work, but you know what? I want to take the word work out of there because it's a passion and I love it, and I don't feel like I work a day in my life. People look at it from the outside like, oh my God, you work so hard, like every single day. But I don't feel it. I don't feel like it's work.
Right.
I want to wake the dogs up and start with them in the morning. I have to wait for them. They're not waiting for me. I'm waiting for them. Like, all right, come on, it's 3:30, 4 o'clock, let's go. Come on, let's go. So it's just a passion. It's a way of life. It's a mission, and it's just a beautiful thing. And I'm so blessed that I get to do this every single day.
Well, I know that all those dogs there that you're helping are also happy that you're there to do that every single day as well. So.
Yeah, we had a big moment, big breakthrough yesterday when K9 Zach, who's a very large German Shepherd military canine, decided to go ahead and lick my face. I'm like, wow, that's great. He licked my face and he didn't chop it off. That's a good day.
Right, exactly. And well, it's a big step for some of those dogs to do that.
Building trust is the number one thing.
Yep.
Building trust. Mm-hmm. Yep. Humans, they don't trust. You build their trust with them, you show them love and compassion, and they'll give you that chance. They're like, okay, I'm going to trust you. It takes a while to build it, but once you build it, but you can never break it, never, because there's no another second chance. You don't get another one.
Right. Yep.
So it's very important that we constantly keep them in a position of success.
Yep. And I mean, and that's not just, with yours, that's with anybody that has a dog. You always want to keep them in that position and have them successful, and so it's good advice for anybody.
Exactly. I was thinking the other day, as I was working with one of the doggies and one of the heroes here, I was thinking, how would there was a series on the History Channel, was called Life After People, and it just basically profiled what the Earth would do if human beings were all gone off the Earth. And I thought for myself, what would life be like without dogs? And I think our civilization would just halt. It would just halt. When you take it, actually, we're working on the next movie right now. It's called A Dog's Right, which we can get into as far as Dakota's Law, which is a law that's going to be passed here in Massachusetts, as far as named after the movie Hill and Dakota, giving retirement benefits for canines.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I saw it on your website, so I was wondering if you could give us more information about it.
Right. So yeah. So I wrote Dakota's Law in January 2023. I submitted it to one of our state representatives, Representative Steve Exeros, just an amazing human being. He was a police officer, I think, for 43 years. Became a state representative. Very, very, very strong connections to the K9 community. I wrote this letter to him asking him if he could endorse and support a law called Dakota's Law. He came to the premiere of the movie Hill and Dakota, which happened to be on Martha's Vineyard, and he's in Cape Cod. He's not even my local state rep. He's in Cape Cod. And he came out to the premiere, watched the movie, gave me a hug at the end of that movie, and he said, I'm all in. Let's do it. And he did. He went. He had hearings at the State House in Boston, and it got chosen to be up for a vote in 2025.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. I was wondering if it was going to get passed.
Well, we have to get it voted on, but we're hoping so.
Yeah, well, that's great.
We're going to start a campaign starting in 2025 called Support the Pause and Enforce the Laws, and it's Dakota's Law, HB 2424.
Mm-hmm. That'd be great to share with local reps from our state as well, and any other state.
Mm-hmm. Exactly correct. Because, and we want to see it start in Massachusetts, and we'd like to see it expanded across the country as a federal law, that these police officers that have four legs, that they're entitled to benefits. Because when a canine gets dropped off here, they don't come with a check; they come with a bill.
Right.
So the listeners and viewers and out there that send in donations to us, that's what keeps this going. This is what sustains us. It's not. So with Dakota's Law, once passed, a canine that retires from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts will come with a retirement package, so that his aftercare for his medical and food, and his housing and his therapy or whatever is needed is funded by the state.
That's good too. I mean, they deserve it.
Absolutely do it. Mm-hmm.
Especially, I mean, sometimes it's so. I see some of these stories where an officer left their K9 officer in a car, like especially out here in Arizona where it's hot, and it's like, what? How did you just leave your partner in a car that's hot? And then, the dog passes away or whatever, and it's like, if anybody else did that in this state, that'd be animal cruelty against them.
Yeah, and I've actually spoken to a couple officers in my work here that's happened to, and I can speak for them and how devastated they are as human beings. I mean, just absolutely devastated.
I can understand if you had something, like faulty happen, like maybe the air conditioner or something, quit working in the vehicle if it was running, but... Yeah, but, accidents are going to happen. I mean, it's just the
the way the world is. The laws of probability that things are going to happen in this line, and of course we try to avoid that at all possible. But certainly, those things can happen from time to time. But yeah, it's a sad thing all around.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit too about what the benefits of K9 PTSD treatment is. I mean, obviously I don't think the dogs can ever be completely cured, can they? Or do they just have a little better quality of life?
That's an excellent question. Excellent question. Thank you for asking it. What a caretaker of a dog in a home, what they would measure success is going to be completely different than what we measure success as. So when a canine comes in, they're in such distress. And how do we measure success? Well, it's always based on a case-by-case basis. The study of one, which is our center's motto, is that no two dogs are going to respond the same to therapy. But we look at it for them to be as close to a normal dog as possible. And for outsiders looking in, they may not see that. They may not see that as being a normal dog. We do, because their level of trauma is so high when they come in, that the idea of not, I'll give you an example, like not running in circles in their kennel 24 hours a day barking, and they don't do that. They're able to sit down and relax and just lay in the sun. It's 32 degrees out here in Boston, so I can tell you right now they're laying in the sun.
Yeah.
Just to lay in the sun and relax and just be able to get themselves under threshold, get themselves to the point where they're not constantly stressed out, where they're not hypervigilant, where they're not in that fight or flight response constantly, where they're not defecating themselves, they're not urinating themselves, that they can go for a walk, they can go swimming. But are they ever cured from it? They're healed from it as long as they're not reintroduced to the trigger sets that brought them there. But we don't know, because we don't measure that. We don't look to reintroduce them to things like police uniforms or military uniforms or police cruisers or sirens or gunshots, all the things that otherwise would remind them and trigger their stress response, because that's not what we are. We want to heal them from, chewing their paws to where it's down to bare skin and bleeding, and like I said, and defecating them, urinating themselves, running in circles, all the things that doesn't allow them to relax and settle down. Playing ball, like having a game of fetch, like they don't do that. PTSD canines don't have fetch. They won't play fetch with you. So to get them to play fetch, that's a big move. So we measure it on an individual basis, but ideally that's what we consider it successful. Mm-hmm. That's, to us, it's success. So.
Good. Yeah, because I didn't think they could be entirely, cured of it. So, but it's, if you can get them back to being as close as possible to normal, that's a good thing.
Yeah. To answer the question, when they're here, they go through the healing process. They become normal dogs for here. We would never rehome one. We would never say, okay, they're ready to go to somebody's house. We would never do that, ever. When they come here for the rest of their lives. And they have good lives here. I mean, like I said, they have 2 pools, they got agility course, they got big yards to run in. There's plenty of woods that they can go for hikes and walks in. There's all kinds of different things here for them. So,
right.
They live very well. I'm going to even venture a guess. They live better than a lot of dogs in the United States.
I bet they do.
and that's deliberate on my part.
That's good, though. That's just a sign that they're being well taken care of.
well loved and well taken care of, right? Because I see them as police officers, and I see them as military military veterans. That's exactly how I see them. When they get retired from the military, they come with their military retirements, with their medals that they achieved during their time of service. They're veterans, and they deserve all the respect and dignity in the world and everything that I have to give them, and I do it. So, and I take great pride in it. People will often call me a hero. I said, I am no hero, not even close to it, but I work with them. I work with heroes every single day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people can't forget that there are the four-legged heroes out there, whether they're dog or horse, or they're out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, I had saw on your website, too, that you were offering a certification in K9 PTSD, but are you guys going to continue to offer that, or?
That's a great question. Yes, we actually opened that up for certification. We're the only ones who can actually do the certification. It's taught by a professor. It's a college course. It's a semester long. It's 15 weeks. You get a certification at the end, and then that gives the person who wants to go out and do the assessments and treat for PTSD 1 and 2 the skill set and foundations that they need to be able to go out there and do that. And we look to increase that more and more, so that more people are certified in it and that people can go out and find it. Because right now, in the United States, if we do the math, there's 150 million dogs in the United States, and 10 to 20% of them are suffering a form of post-traumatic stress 1 or 2. And a professional behaviorist would be able to go through the course, get certified at the end of it, and be able to go out there and be unique in offering that service in their community, in their area, that others don't have because they're not trained in it. And for people who, because in the scales of aggression, there's 12 of them, I believe it is, and then there's idiopathic aggression. Idiopathic just means we don't know where it's rooted from, right? So is it idiopathic, and if the dog is experiencing some type of pain, right? And so, but idiopathic can be easily defined now as an aggressive state that comes from a dog suffering from post-traumatic stress.
Right.
I think that the research that I've done has answered that question. It finally is giving a name to that category. So a professional behaviorist out there that wants to treat for CPTSD 1 and 2, and the treatment is the diagnosis, and they get to use all our tools, all our assessments, all of our literature to be able to go out there and offer that service that others can't provide unless they're certified and trained in it. So,
Well, I'm glad that you're offering that for people to be able to get that certification. That's pretty cool. I know I saw that and I was like, ooh, that would be kind of interesting to have.
It is. It's basically, it makes it, having a certification in CPTSD 1 and 2 makes you the top behaviorist, period. Because there's no other, I mean, you can say predatory aggression or female-on-female aggression. Those are the two that you're just, as a behaviorist, chances are you're not working through. Some of your listeners might push back on that, but in my experience, those are the two most difficult. But what's the most challenging, and what is ultimately the most difficult, which is the number one behavior that affects these amazing four-legged heroes and family members out there, is CPTSD. It's extremely complicated. And if not knowing what you don't know, you can make it 1,000 times worse as a behaviorist. Because as experienced as I was with canines and dogs and dog behavior and training, nothing that I ever knew prepared me for it. In fact, everything that I knew didn't work. I had to learn the opposite of what actually I had to be self-taught. I had to do it by jumping in the deep end and figuring out what worked and what didn't work.
Right.
And that course will give them the ability and the skill set to be out there and be a top-tier behaviorist. Because if you're certified in CPTSD 1 or 2, there's no other behavior that's more complicated than that. There's just none. So.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you offer that, so maybe more people will decide to get certified with that. And
I know that the course is like $3,995, but they're going to be doing a payment program for that starting in January, so that they don't have to pay it all at once. They can do it in installments, so it makes it more affordable for more people. Just to kind of give you an FYI on that. So when they look at the pricing, like it's $4,000 for this course, but it'll be an installment plan that'll break down over the 15 weeks. So this way it gives people, makes it more affordable for them.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. Cool. All right, well, we're coming to the end of the podcast, James. I'm so glad that you were able to come on again, but before we do jump off, why don't you go ahead and put the information out there for people that would maybe like to donate to the center, help you out with, if they're in your area, if they're thinking about becoming a volunteer, talking with you about that. So how would someone be able to contact you guys?
That's excellent. Thank you so much for providing that opportunity for us. The best method to get in touch with us, our phone number, our email address, all our contact information is on our website at www.K9 PTSD.org. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, so we are tax deductible for donations. They can reach out to us there. They can send a contact to us. Email is generally the best way to contact us. And, just ask your questions or inquire about more information. And welcome to take that virtual tour. They'll give you a little bit insight to what it looks like here, and not so much what we do, but more about what it looks like. And that'd be awesome for people to reach out and need some support.
Yeah, awesome. And I'll put a link up on my Facebook page as well for people to go to. So
we appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. And I'll definitely check out that store and see about getting a shirt to wear around this
Right, yeah. Whether it's going to be for a holiday gift or a birthday gift or a New Year's Eve gift or a Valentine's gift, because there's a lot of red in there.
Yeah.
So show the loved ones that you love them by buying a K9 authentic official K9 PTSD shirt in red.
And red's my favorite color, so now I'm going to have to definitely go check it out. So
Excellent. We have some nice red hats out there. There was a big request for red hats, so we put some red hats out there too as well. So
awesome.
So we appreciate you. Thank you so much for having us again. This has been wonderful, and your podcast does an amazing job reaching so many viewers and educating them on things that really other people don't have that information to. So,
well, thanks. I try.
Yeah, you do a great job. You're a wonderful job.
All right, well, you're doing a great job with what you guys are doing there at the K9 PTSD Center, too, so keep up the good work, and thanks again for coming back on. I appreciate it, and I'm glad to get the information out there to the listeners, and don't forget Healing Dakota. Go grab the movie, Amazon Prime, and check it out, and keep an eye out for the new one that will be coming out as well. So,
A dog's right. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate you.
All right, and thanks, James. And I'm just going to go ahead and announce the next couple of podcasts I have. So you're welcome to stay on, but I know it's a little later in your time zone, so if you want to jump off, that's fine, too.
I'm going to jump off because I got some doggies to take care of, but thank you so much again for your time, and look forward to talking to you real soon.
All right, thanks, James. You have a good night now.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, so that was great of James to come back on and talk about the K9 PTSD Center. What a great time it was talking with him and getting more information on their expansion and their updated services and stuff like that they're going to have. So for that being said, the next podcast that I have coming up is on January 23rd. And that's going to be with Michael French and Lisa Arnold, who are the founders of Enhanced Vet Sciences. So they make like treats and different stuff like that for our dogs. And what was really cool is that they were offering to put your pet's picture on their bags when they sent them to you, food, treats, whatever you're getting. So I thought that was pretty cool, and they sent me a sample, and I have my one dog on there. It was kind of cool. It was for Christmas. There was a Christmas tree and little stars and stuff. So it was really pretty cool, and it was pretty simple. You just had to upload the picture, and they put it on the bag. So I thought that was interesting. So I'm going to be talking with those guys about enhanced vet sciences and what they're doing, and having your pet's picture on the bag. Again, so that's going to be January 23rd. And then the next one after that will be on February 6th. I am going to be talking with Catherine Carver, and she is an author that did a book called Abandoned, Chronicling the Journeys of Once Forsaken Dogs. So this book is all about, she follows shelter dogs in a certain shelter or two, and she kind of chronicled, that they came into the shelter system and then what happened to them, whether they were euthanized or whether they got adopted, how long they were either in shelter or the rescue system, some of the instances they came from, and then how they, found, for the most part, most of them found homes. So she's going to be coming on to talk about her book and talk with me about, her experiences with the shelter and rescues while she was writing her book. So I'm looking forward to talking with Catherine about her book, Abandoned, Chronicling the Journeys of Once Forsaken Dogs. So I think that'll be a great one. So hopefully you guys will be able to tune in on that. Again, February 6th. And the one right before that again is on January 23rd, January 23rd, from Enhanced Vet Sciences with Michael French and Lisa Arnold. So looking forward to talking with those guys as well. So hopefully you guys will be able to listen in. So, and with that being said, I hope you all have a great weekend, and I hope that you all had a happy holidays, and that you guys got really cool things for Christmas that you wanted and got to celebrate it with your families and your loved ones. So with that being said, I hope you guys have a good night, and come on back in a couple weeks and listen to the next podcast. Good night now.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.